Hello everyone, Eric Chappelle, Civil Community Evangelist for Autodesk, and I want to welcome you all to today's webcast. Really special webcast. This is about what's new in the 2018.1 update of Civil 3D. Now we're doing something a little different this time around. Usually we don't talk to you about what's new in the update until it's out. Well, this time we're giving you a sneak peek of what's coming, and we'll get into that a little later on as far as the details of that. But this is a really kind of special presentation because we're taking a look into the future here. My main speakers today, or our main speakers today, are going to be Dave Simeone, Tim Yarris, and Charlie Ogden, and they'll be with you in just a moment. But before we get to those guys, I just want to talk to you a little bit about our webcast series and our community. If you're new to this series, this is something we do twice a month. We try to stick to the first and third Wednesdays of the month, so kind of mark those, pencil those in on your calendar as likely times for upcoming webcasts. And the goal is to just give you a constant way to be informed about what's going on with our civil products, primarily Civil 3D and InfraWorks, but also other products. I'm going to be telling you in a moment about a vehicle tracking webcast that's coming up. We've done stuff on Revit, we've done stuff on Navisworks, so there's lots of different ways to learn and get information about the products here. So there's that. There's also a chance for you to ask questions and provide feedback while you have folks on the line. And just generally speaking, it's a way to bring you folks, the users of our products, a little closer to the makers of our products. And today is a great example of that because, as you can see by the speakers we have lined up, this is all about having the ear and hearing from the product team. Our next webcast, as I mentioned, is going to be about vehicle tracking, which also has an update in the works and kind of timed with the Civil 3D update as well. We're going to hear from Nigel Peters on this one. He's kind of the head guy when it comes to vehicle tracking, so there's probably no one on earth that knows more about it than he does. So it'll be a great opportunity for you to hear about the changes that are coming with vehicle tracking as well. That's 2 weeks from today, same time, 12 to 1 Eastern. And you can watch for information on how to register. Actually, the registration link is already up on the community site, civil-community.autodesk.com. So if you want to jump in and register for that, feel free to go to that site and do so. Let us know what you want to see. You have a questions panel on your GoToWebinar interface. So if you have an idea for a topic that you'd like us to cover in a future webcast, just go ahead and type it in there, hit send. Even if you think of something later on in the webcast, feel free to do it then. But we want to show you guys what you want to see, so we're going to gather as much information about that as possible. If you haven't already seen our new Civil Engineering Community Center, it's something that I'm personally very excited about. A lot of folks here at Autodesk are excited about. This is a great way for us to get information out to you that's current and recent and up to date. We've got all kinds of different sources feeding into this site, news about our products and other associated products, the user forums, the gallery, tips and tricks, all the things you see listed there are kind of all streaming into this one central site, and it's all organized by the most recent. We update this, frequently. It's definitely a site you want to bookmark and check daily, even more often than that, because there's always good information up there. It's even got a search function at the top, so you heard about a webcast that we had recently, you can go in there and search rail webcast or whatever you happen to hear about, and it will go out and find it for you, and lots of other stuff relevant to your search. So it's a very good, powerful way to get information on what's going on in the Autodesk Civil world. I would say this disclaimer applies quite well to today's webcast because we're going to be talking about things that haven't been released yet. So just know that when we talk about preview features or labs features or things that we're working on, there's no guarantee that these will actually exist until you see them in an upcoming supported release of the software. So don't make any purchasing decisions based on anything you hear or see that isn't yet out or released. We've got a team of people in the background today available to answer questions, so please ask lots of questions. Don't be shy. Unfortunately, we don't have, with the size of our audience, we can't open the phone lines and ask them over the audio, but you can use the questions panel on the GoToWebinar interface, And we've got Charlie and Tim and Dave and myself all standing by to answer your questions. And if there's a recurring theme or something of particular interest, we'll shout it out loud to whoever is speaking at the time, and they'll provide an answer for everyone to hear. So with that, I'm going to turn over the stage, and we're going to hear from Dave first. And he's going to tell you a little bit about what's coming in the new update. Dave, it's all yours.
Excellent. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. So in the room, it's myself, Tim, and Charlie. There's one person who very much wanted to be here, Charlie Gavini, who was the lead for a significant part of this release, in particular the rehab functionality. So I know Charlie would have loved to have been here, but I also wanted to publicly acknowledge his efforts on this project altogether. So anyway, so we're here to talk about the 2018.1 update. Let me change one thing here. Got too many things on my screen. So historically, we've delivered improvements in a couple of different ways, right? That green box, new workflows, generally speaking, those would be introduced in like the big R, right? The annual release, which is typically in the spring. So that's where you would see kind of full new workflows being introduced. We've also historically delivered improvements to existing workflows in those annual releases, and then also in extensions, productivity packs, various names that we've called them over the years. And then the final would be that general quality improvement. These are, think of them as defect fixes. These are things that historically we've released as part of service packs. Okay, so what we now have is these things all combined into one deliverable, which is in this case Civil 3D 2018.1 or Update 1. Okay, and that's all one simple package that you can install using the Autodesk desktop app, or you could download off of the accounts.manage.autodesk.com site and manually install or include into your deployments. So very easy to adopt, very easy to deploy, no impact on object format. They're woven directly into the user interface, as Tim and Charlie will show you in the demonstrations. And it's like, as I said, in some cases they're adding new workflows, in other cases they're modifying existing workflows. So goal there, it's all really part of that whole continuous improvement strategy, basically to give you benefits, give you things that are going to make you more efficient, but do it in a way that's as least disruptive as possible. Okay, so as we looked at this update, we kind of start the process by looking at the different users and the problems that we want to first understand and then provide a solution for, right? So it's basically a simple pattern of I, as a specific type of a user, need something, right? So I, as a transportation engineer, need some ability. I, as a drafter, need a solution for. I, as a CAD manager. Those are kind of our primary personas that we're targeting solutions for. They all kind of fit into that, in this case, a Civil 3D customer. So I, as a Civil 3D customer, need some solution for these types of problems, right? One of them is I need an easy way for my design team to model and optimize roadway rehab proposals, okay? And then I, as a Civil 3D customer, need a more flexible solution for creating pressure and gravity network content. I need the ability to, or I need to reduce the time it takes to create and edit section sheets, right? When we get into the blue, these are more of, modifying existing workflows, whereas the green are more about new workflows that we've introduced, right? Continuing on, right? I, as a Civil 3D customer or organization or CAD manager, I need my CAD manager and production users to maintain design and production standards. I need a roundabout modeling solution that meets design requirements and delivers a high quality model. I need the ability to share alignment and profile geometry with others. These are kind of the big theme areas or the big focus areas of Update 1. There are other smaller things, and again, we don't get it at all into kind of the general maintenance the defects that have been resolved or things such as that. We're not going to get into those in this presentation, but those will be clearly documented in, at the launch time. So in the README, you'll have a list of all the different of those types of changes. Okay, so let's kind of start to drill into these. Let's just jump right into them. So the first one, and I'm going to pass this over to Tim, is probably the primary theme of the release. And this is tricky from a marketing standpoint. We want to make, we typically want to call out, one primary focus area. And this really is I think the biggest change within the product. It's something that is driven by demand from our owner-operator clients, but it also greatly impacts our commercial accounts, so our consultants who do work on really, any type of transportation project. So what I want to do is I'm going to pass it over to Tim. Tim kind of walk through what we've done here.
All right, great. Thanks, Dave. So essentially what we were trying to do with this whole road rehabilitation process that we've been working on for the 2018.1 update is major goals that we're looking at here are just to, first off, just kind of enable design teams to, as it says here, deliver pavement rehab proposals that optimize milling, leveling, and overlaying, and also optimizing cross slopes on existing corridors as well. So we understand the research that we've done, the users that we've talked to about this over the course of time, a lot of money goes into like the whole milling process and everything. And so the request for them was that just kind of doing our best to wrap that process up to a little bit more efficient process so that any kind of savings that they have in those processes mean that they have more budget later on down the road so that they can then go ahead and focus on more lane miles and just overall provide a better driving experience in their design and everything. So our basic goal here is that we just want to save people time and money so that they can just rehab more miles along the way and everything. And then so with those goals in mind, we did a lot of research and a lot of work around just kind of leveraging the existing Civil 3D corridor model to kind of bring those processes into the existing model so that we could kind of just really focus it on these workflows for rehabbing an existing road, generating the reports and the analytics that our users need for these particular workflows, but then also kind of making sure that that model, anything that we did around road rehab, got you the same kind of derivatives after the fact. So anything that we would need in the way of like extracting solids or feature lines and that sort of thing from the rehab corridor model, we wanted to make sure that we did that as well. So that was the goal there. And then also, this also ties in very nicely to not only what we have in Civil 3D corridor model as it is today, but this also kind of ties really nicely into some of the workflows that we've been working on the InfraWorks side. So things around, like as you're seeing here, like just the, you'll notice in 2018.1 for InfraWorks, we did a lot of work around making it a lot easier to extract linear strings from point clouds. And so based on those strings, we're able to bring those into Civil 3D, create a really good model of the existing ground surface and everything. And then that gives us a lot of really great data that we can then leverage in this road rehab process in Civil 3D. So with that, I'm going to jump into Civil 3D actually and give you a quick overview of how this works in Civil 3D. So model that I have right now on the screen and everything, this is actually an existing site that we have that was actually, it wasn't created from the point cloud data that I was just describing. This is actually it's an existing ground surface created from a number of survey figures and COGO points that were grabbed from the real world and everything. So basically what we have here, you'll see there's no corridor model in here and there's no assembly or anything like that. As Dave mentioned, so basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just go through a process that's going to just kind of rehabbing just a portion of this particular road. And so as Dave mentioned, in the .1 update, we kind of did a really nice job here of integrating some of these new tools into the existing Civil 3D interface and everything. So in the past, when we did things such as like productivity packs and that sort of thing, we would have like a toolbox with a bunch of kind of nodes with the new tools in there. But actually for this case, we were able to add some new tools just directly into the existing ribbon and everything. So I'm going to launch this new rehab corridor creation process just from the ribbon, just like you would for a regular corridor. And so very familiar kind of situation that you have with a lot of the other Civil 3D objects. We have just a creation dialog where I'm just going to name my corridor, rehab corridor. Same kind of thing with styles and alignments and profiles, all that kind of good stuff. For this case, really, you're not going to be creating, I don't need to have an assembly defined out of the box and everything for this process. I just need to know just what my alignment, I'm just using an existing ground profile for this case, my target surface, and then actually what I'm going to do here is I'm going to restrict this region to, I'm going to start my region around here, and then I'll end this particular region around here. And this is a thing that you can, I mean, after you've done this, you can add corridor regions for different rehab areas as well. I'm just going to target my existing surface. And once I click OK, a couple things are going on here. So you'll see on screen that I've got a couple things going on here. So first off, you'll see a very similar kind of situation as we have like the existing corridor editor, like the section editor in Civil 3D. We have a newer version of that that's really purpose-built for the road rehab process. And we also have this newer interface on the right-hand side of the screen that's been docked. And this is all just letting you kind of enter rehab parameters. And so you'll see here that like a couple things, as I'll get into it and everything, it automatically created a corridor model that's, for all intents and purposes, empty right now. But then we also have an assembly that was created, just kind of a dummy assembly that's based on these new rehab subassemblies that we're shipping with the product as well. So just keep those in mind and everything. Different subassemblies for different purposes and everything that are just going to be automatically applied as needed. So for this case, you'll see here I have like a left lane and a right lane. I can do things like all along this thing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say like you can specify like what your cross slopes are and all that kind of good stuff, targets, all that sort of things. So basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, like I said here, I have a whole bunch of feature lines and everything, or survey figures rather, that I created in this model. So what I'm going to do here for my left lane, I'm going to set one of those as a target. So basically I'm just going to kind of go ahead and I'm on my left lane, and I know this is on my right side of the corridor, so I'm going to pick that one.
Yeah, the change is going from the top of the screen to the bottom.
Yeah.
So it looks like he's picking the other side. But
yeah, really. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. And then I'm going to do the opposite on the opposite side. Same kind of thing. So I'll pick that one. I'll zoom out a bit just to kind of get my bearing straight again. And I'll click OK. And then same kind of deal down, like anything I do down at this particular, with this dialog, this is going to affect both lanes for the entire corridor and everything. So what I'm going to do next here, this bottom portion kind of lets you like specify more of like what actually is going to happen as you're rehabbing the corridor. So you can set like things like your ideal cross slope, whether you want to apply, like use super elevation that you have applied to your alignment. You can specify whether you want to, like what your process is going to be, whether it's you want to level it, you want to mill it, or you want to do both. For this demo, I'm just going to go with milling only. And I'm going to just set a minimum mill depth of 1/10 of a foot. So, and as you see here, like there's nothing going on here at this cross-section view at the time and everything. but now that I'm going to click apply, it's going to actually build that that subassembly for me and everything, or that assembly, and it's going to apply it throughout this region here and everything. And now I can, it's kind of gives me a really nice view now into like what exactly is happening with my rehab corridor. So if I go in and I zoom in, you'll see a couple things going on here. So I've got a style set up here where it's showing, keep losing my mouse here for some reason. But anyway, what's happening here is that like I've got my this hatched version. Okay, so the pink layer in here is showing like the milling depth and all that kind of thing, and then the hatch is showing like what my overlay is.
Oh, leveling.
Leveling. Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
There you go. So basically, what's going on here is that I've got like it's building out this corridor, specifying, as you see here, like a whole bunch of different like really critical points here, and we have those critical points labeled as to like what's specifically going on at each of these points. So I've got my mill depth labeled really clearly here. Sorry about those big funky markers, that those weren't what I was expecting here. But anyway, so basically what's going on here is that I've got this quarter rehab ribbon here that now I can go ahead and I can kind of step through section by section what exactly happened with my rehab corridor. And as you'll see here, like both in my plan view and also my profile view, we have the whole, we have the tracking markers set up there and everything, so that as you're stepping through all the different stations, you're seeing in all contexts what's going on and everything. And you're seeing like in the profile, like what my adjusted elevations are for my cross slope correction and all that kind of thing. So basically, once I've got all that great information going on in here, and then you'll see here that I can, like, we have some like warning glyphs that are showing when some of those parameters that I set in the right-hand panel have been violated. I've got some tooltips there that are showing me exactly what's going on, and I can actually go into this Rehab Manager tool. This is this new tool that we have here, and that's going to give me a lot of information about just kind of what is specifically going on at each of these stations and everything. And so I know for a fact that I don't have anything that's necessarily like violating anything on the left lane, so I'm going to hide my left lane parameters in here. And so basically what I could do, go ahead and do in here, is that I can kind of make any kind of minor modifications to my rehab corridor at like each individual station. So if, for example, like right now I have my slope at negative 1.99, if I wanted to bump that, if I want to just round that off really nicely to just a solid 2, I can do that. And as you'll see here, that automatically changes in my section view as well. So I can just keep doing that and do whatever I want, make any kind of just kind of really minor tweaks and stuff like that as I go along and as I want to kind of modify my design. As the users are doing that, they can then, as they get further down into the process, we have this whole milling and leveling report tool on this rehab parameters panel. And that's just going to give you a great overview of pretty much just like what all is going on just over the entire rehab corridor region that you're working with. So we have this really cool heat map that's kind of giving you a really good idea of like specific areas around like where all like the really critical areas of like where a lot of milling or a lot of fill areas and leveling are taking place and everything. So it just kind of gives you a great overview of that. And then you can, we have a whole bunch of tools up here for like if you want to export the report to a CSV and then take it over to your pavement manager and stuff like that to kind of have them do some further analysis in Excel or something like that. And then again, just as you're kind of going through these and everything, you'll see here, like if I go back in here, back into the whole idea of, again, just making sure this is just a quarter model, as Dave and I had said before. So again, if you were doing something in the case of like a widening, for example, like if you wanted to then go ahead and say like this assembly's been built for me automatically, Now, what if I want to say, for example, add a shoulder to that particular, I'm all mixed up here, but basically, if I wanted to then go ahead and add like a shoulder subassembly onto this assembly that's been built for me, I can do that. I can rebuild my corridor, and then that's automatically tacked onto that rehab corridor that's been built for me and everything. And then again, I can go ahead and I can go get the same information out of the rehab corridor model that I can get out of my just existing Civil 3D corridor. So I can extract my solids from it. I can drive along it, do any kind of downstream processes from that corridor that I can do with any of the other corridors that I have today. So there's a ton more that we could get into with this and everything, but I'm going to keep trucking through some of the other stuff just in the interest of time and everything. Dave, any?
No, I think the key point to get across to everybody is one, this is just a Civil 3D corridor, right? It's a corridor that knows it's got a specific type, which is a rehab corridor, but it's still a corridor. So as Tim showed, you can modify that corridor using traditional corridor editing or interaction. Also, all of your corridor output and derivative type utilities or options are available. So you can extract strings and build surfaces and make solids or any of those other things, including your production drafting. So so that's a key thing because it greatly expands the value of this. The other thing that's been really interesting for us is this whole idea of basically taking the corridor as a starting point and building a purpose-built workflow around it. We see that as that's something that could be beneficial in other areas. So we're investigating, are there other, very particular types of corridors that would be, that much easier for people to compose or to take advantage of or interact with if we built some type of an interface like this. So I wouldn't be surprised if you start to see over time, I think, more this type of an approach of extending the corridor into something that's more targeted. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Dave. And yeah, it's just we're really happy with it because it keeps you from having to know what you need before you really start the process. So just having the software build the assembly for you is pretty awesome. So I think with that I think that was what I wanted to touch on as far as the rehab was concerned. Correct, Dave? That's all we're going to, okay. Okay, so with that, next thing that we're going to touch on, we're going to actually pass it over to Charlie, so Charlie is going to touch on the next portion of this, which is just as a Civil 3D customer. Well, Dave, you want to do the transition? Okay, so I'm
great.
Rolling. All right,
kicking back.
All right. All right, so basically, as a Civil 3D customer, you need a more flexible solution for creating pressure and gravity network content. And so this is the portion that Charlie's going to speak to. So yeah, Eric, could you pass it over to Charlie, please?
We want to show that slide first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, good point.
So Tim, should I jump back over to you?
Yeah, me, please, just for a second.
Okay.
Sorry.
Our bad.
Awesome.
Okay, cool. All right, yeah, so I'm going to talk about Parts Editor, which is being included in the update. If you were part of Project Chameleon in the past, you may be familiar with this. So this is kind of a graduation of that product. So Project Chameleon was used to create parts for gravity structures, pressure content in Civil 3D, also bridge structures for InfraWorks. And so part of the tool, as part of the bridge workflow, tools have been included inside InfraWorks to develop the bridge structures there. Since our front end to bridge design happens in InfraWorks, and then you can bring the parts or bring the bridge into Civil 3D. So some of those tools were delivered as part of InfraWorks, But for our piping solutions, we develop those models inside of InfraWorks and Civil 3D, or a lot of that happens in Civil 3D. So we need a different approach where we're not building the tools inside InfraWorks, but we want it inside a tool that we can share between InfraWorks and Civil 3D users. So there's two parts to the tool. I'm really going to focus on the second one. But the first part is called the Shape Modeler plugin. This is a tool that we'll install on top of Inventor or Inventor LT if those are installed first. And that allows you to kind of model the shape of new structures if you have to. We do have a bunch of shapes already in the tool that you can use and build from. So many users won't necessarily need to do that, but all users in this workflow will need to use the parts editor tool. And that's where we actually put all the parts and shapes into specific sizes and put them into a catalog. And that catalog can be used by either InfraWorks or Civil 3D. So that's what I'm going to focus on here is kind of the workflow for the parts editor. And we'll have more detail on these as well in the future with additional help documentation and videos. But Eric, you can pass it over to me now and I'll show my screen.
All right, you got it.
All right.
And we are seeing your screen, so you're good to go.
All right. Okay, thanks. All right, so I'm in Civil 3D. In the past, we ship with a number of content for drainage, for pressure pipes. For drainage, we had updated some structures that were based on Project Chameleon. So there's a catalog that includes those in Civil 3D already, but it's mainly manholes and grate inlets. So in some cases, if you want a new type of structure, like a curb inlet or a combination inlet, you'll notice if I go and add a part family inside Civil 3D here, I have a number of access manholes, a number of inlets, but if I scroll through these, they're all grate inlets. So one scenario is maybe you want to, these all have specific sizes. You may want different sizes of these grate inlets or manholes. You may want a different type of inlet altogether, like a combination inlet. So what we would do in this case, either case, is use this new infrastructure parts editor. So you'll find this on the home menu under design and the drop down below all the other tools. So infrastructure parts editor, and this would be able to build parts, so replace the part builder tool, replace the content catalog editor that was used for pressure pipe parts. But I'll go ahead and launch this. And if you've used Project Chameleon in the past, this will be very familiar. It's the part editing tool that was part of Chameleon. It's the same tool. There's an update on publishing that I'll show. You can come in here and open a part library. What you're seeing here ships with the tool. But you can use this to generate drainage structure content. Piping is the pressure piping content. In the past, this had bridge tools, but like I mentioned, the bridge tools have been worked into InfraWorks directly. So I'm going to go in and edit my one of my drainage catalogs here. And you might see this if you've done any editing. I'm just going to say yes, so it's going to overwrite the drafts that I may have edited in the past. And then inside the tool, for drainage structures, these are made up of our surface structures, which is the top piece that meets the ground, either where a grate or a cover sits, or a curb opening. And then there's an underground structure that's the barrel and grates and covers. And these three pieces get put together in an assembly. So we end up assembling from different pieces to build manholes and inlets. And you'll see there's a number of manholes and grate inlets here already. There's also down here, there is a combination inlet that's already created. So what I'm going to do is bring that into Civil 3D. So if I open this up, you'll see it's made from this surface structure that has a grate as well as a curb opening. It's made up of an underground box structure and a grate for the top. There's some properties like the name, it is an inlet, it has a sump, that sort of stuff you can set here. And then under size validation, you'll see there's actually only one size in this, and you can see what it looks like in kind of a 3D model here. So one quick thing just to show a bit of the workflow, if I go back to structure, I can see the surface structure component, combination right sweeper. I just look at the model of that. That's just the surface piece. The assembly only has one size because there's only one size available for this. But one common workflow that you do in this tool would be to come in and add some new sizes. And we could do that on the part editing tool. If I add a row, I'll get a new row where I can put in a new set of sizes. And I'm also just going to rename this. I'm just going to call it a combination inlet. I should probably rename the whole part, but let's say 34 by 16. I have a new row of dimensions that can be entered. And just to show a very quick example, I'm going to start off by just duplicating what I have for the part that already exists. So just to start with, just putting in the same sizes, and I'm going to go back and change a couple. So 2, 36. Okay, so there is a sketch too that goes along that shows you what the dimensions represent on the part. But there's a couple in here in particular that represent the curb opening in part of the inlet. One is the inlet opening width, and I'm going to change this in mine to 32, so it's about the same size as the grate. And then scrolling over, the total length of this part is the SS length. And I'm going to change that on my new one to be 36. You could change on other dimensions too if you wanted. But now that I have two sizes, I can go to size validation and see that I did something wrong. Let me go back. I think I changed the wrong. SP. Oh no, I did this a bunch of times yesterday.
Do you have one just pre-canned?
Yeah, I'll just bring in the other one.
Yeah, bring in the other one.
Great.
Somehow or another, it was my fault.
It's always Dave's fault.
All right, I'll just get rid of that size. But so you can edit those sizes, and mine didn't validate well. I could see it didn't look good, but I do have this part. It's not in my catalog in Civil 3D, so I'm going to say done here. So you make any sizes you want to these parts, and when you're done, you can go to the Publish tab. And this part's a little bit different if you'd use Chameleon. So we've changed the command here a little bit. So you have the option of selecting all the parts or just a single part. And I'm just going to pick the new one I was working on, combination sweeper, and say next. And one of the changes we did is you could publish at the same time to both InfraWorks and Civil 3D. If you select Civil 3D, what it does is find where your parts go through the Civil 3D settings, and it's going to put my catalog directly there, so I don't have to do what we had to do in Project Chameleon, was move files around. So I just select that option, and I'm going to say OK, and it's going to publish those parts to my catalog, and I'm going to go back to Civil 3D. So one thing you do need to do in Civil 3D if you've added parts to a catalog is use the part catalog regen command, and I've added structures, so I'm going to type in S for structure, and it's just going to regenerate the catalog for me. And now if I go to the parts list I have, I'm going to add structure. I could see the new part that I created is in here, and I'll say OK, and find it at the bottom of the list and add a size. It only has one size, so I'll just say OK and OK, and then just to show it, I'm going to create a new network using my catalog and surface, and then just make sure I pick the new right side sweeper inlet, and I'll just create a network of pipes and structures, and just gonna create a couple in here for just to see it. All right, so you could see, you know, they have a different shape to them, though you could change that with your style. And I'm just gonna pick each of these. I should have rotated the first one, but just look at it in the object viewer, and you can see now I have curb opening, combination inlets in the model. These can be added to your profile. They're just structured now in Civil 3D, and you can do whatever you do with your other parts.
And Charlie, just so as an FYI to people, one of the other things, it's not in this release, but one of the other things we're looking at is, you know, support for, you know, insertion versus different connection points. So as you get into some of these kind of non-symmetrical structures, looking at how, you know, giving people more control over how pipes connect into those structures. So that's something that we're actually actively investigating. We envision that becomes a bigger issue as people are making more of this type of content.
Yep.
Good. Nice job, Charlie. Thank you.
All right, that's it.
Okay. Let's go back over to Tim. And there's a number of questions.
All right. Looks like you can see my screen again. All right. Moving right along.
Okay, so and we'll move quickly through these additional ones. But so one of the other things that we wanted to target was just in general allowing you to be more efficient when creating and editing section sheets. So it's both not so much the creation of the initial section sheet, but really, you know, building all the final, you know, inclusion of all the final, you know, elements, so in particular crossings and projections onto that. So Tim, why don't you take from there?
Sure thing. All right, so working with the same, another version of the similar data set that I was just working on a minute ago here and everything. So got a couple sections cut in here and everything with sample lines, of course. And like, just say, for example, I mentioned I built this surface and like based my rehab corridor around the series of survey figures. So basically what I want to do now is I want to show those survey figures in some of my section views and everything. So what we did with the update here is that we updated our section view projection tools so that, like, let's see here, if I just execute that, and now I'm going to pick that sample line. So this whole dialog box here looks familiar, I would imagine, to people that have used it before. So it's basically the whole idea of you can like just specify how you want things to be projected onto section views and everything. So what we did for this new release though is we did a couple things. So we added some controls on this main dialog box here to let you filter what sort of objects you want to project. So in this case, I really only have Kogo points and survey figures that I want to that I have in this drawing that I want to project onto these views. So basically, what I can do here is I can filter what I want to project onto the views and everything. So in this case, I don't want all the Kogo points. I just want to concentrate on the ones that are specified as trees here. So I'm just going to do that. I could also say if I had them classified really well in point groups, I could specify which point groups I want to specify. I'm just going to cancel that though. And then we also have this new output display interface, and basically what that's going to let you do is it's going to show you all the different objects that kind of met those criteria, and it's going to let you specify how you want those to be displayed in the section view. You can display them either as crossings or as projections. Kogo points, in this case, I don't want to show them as crossings. I just want to show them as projections. So I'm just going to specify a projection style. I'm going to just keep the elevation and the label as they are and accept those. And then for survey figures, this is a new pretty big thing that we did for the update, is we gave you the chance to now say, again, I've got a number of different figures in this drawing and everything. So I'm going to toggle off my buildings and my just standard miscellaneous, and I'm just going to concentrate on these particular types of survey figures. And you'll see here, we have this object count column here that's going to kind of give you a running tally of kind of how many objects meet that particular criteria and everything. So you'll see here now I'm down to 423 of 660. So basically now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, just for the sake of keeping things quick, I want to draw all these survey figures as crossings. I want to use a particular crossing marker style for them, and I want to use that label style to keep the elevation as it is. If I click OK, and I click OK, this is now going to blast all of my, both the objects that I projected. So the tree Kogo points that I projected, those are showing up in my section views. And also I'm showing all of the crossings for these different survey figures that I used in this particular drawing. And then we have new label properties that are available. And you'll see here in the section view node in label styles, we have this new crossing label type for section views. And that kind of gives you just different kind of parameters that you want to specify for each of your crossing linear features and everything. Just give a quick way to show you just how to just show identify and label each of those linear crossings and where they fall on your section views and everything. And so just one thing that you couldn't do in Civil 3D before that we're enabling you to do now. And again, it just kind of lets you blast them through a number of different section views all at the same time and everything. And then one of the other just kind of silly little things that we did that we think people will probably be pretty happy about is that imagine a case where you have a whole just tons and tons of different section views in your drawing. One of the things that we've heard complaints about is just being able to just kind of quickly navigate between a section view and where the sample line is in plan. And so our solution for that was that we have this new ability now where if you pick a sample line, you can just right click and say zoom to section view, and it just takes you really quickly to that particular section view that can then kind of really quickly see exactly what it is that you're working on for section. Same kind of thing, if you are in section and you need to see what the context is for a particular section view in plan, you can pick that, right click and say zoom to sample line, and it takes you immediately just quickly right there and everything. So you can see just context of just different view representations, just a really easy way to kind of zoom back and forth between those two complementary objects and everything. So hopefully that'll be a big help for people. So that's the big stuff I wanted to touch on as far as section sheets. Dave, anything to add on that, or?
No.
Awesome. All right, so that's, yep, I touched on all that stuff just in the demo itself and everything. So I'm going to really quickly move into, I know we're quickly running out of time and everything. So the last thing I'm going to touch on in my demo is just the whole idea of, as a Civil 3D customer, I need my CAD manager and production users to maintain design and production standards. And so what this is all about is that in Civil 3D 2017, we rolled out this ability to reference a template in an existing drawing so that you could then kind of pull in all of your styles and all of your like object styles and label styles into an existing drawing so that you could then kind of absorb any kind of changes that happen to any of those templates would be automatically consumed by any drawings that are attached to a template. So what we did here for the 2018.1 update is expanded that out dramatically to include not only object styles and label styles, but now we have like command settings and feature settings that can be referenced into a template, from a template into a drawing. And we also dug into like some of the commonly requested AutoCAD things that you could then, that people wanted to also be able to reference. So we can reference things like AutoCAD blocks, line types, text styles, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to really quickly touch on that here. I'm just going to create tell you what, the way I'm going to demo this is I'm just going to go and I'm going to create a new drawing just using ACAD.dwt. So as you would expect from that, I'm not going to have really anything in here. This is just a very, very simple, very quick, just standard styles and everything in here. So what I can do now is I can under manage, just like in 17, I can click this reference tool here on the ribbon. But what we added here is if you go ahead and add a template here, we have this new manage reference settings button, and this gives you this whole new interface here that lets you define like which settings and which layers and which blocks, text types, line styles, all that kind of stuff, property sets, all those kind of things that you can specify how you want to bring those things into a drawing and everything. You can even get into just like really granular options as to like if you want to bring in some styles but not all styles of a given type, you can just toggle on and off the ones that you want and everything. So really quick and easy way to bring a whole bunch of different resources all into a drawing all at the same time, and just really building on some of the tools that we had rolled out in the 2017 version, and just kind of based on user feedback, these are some of the improvements that we made on that. So good stuff there. And that's the end of my demo, Dave.
Yeah. So so just to thanks, Tim. Yes. So so the last couple things. Actually, let's go to the next slide. So one of the things that it's not actually a Civil 3D change. It's actually a change in vehicle track, but the Civil 3D roundabout functionality is directly from Autodesk vehicle track. So the vehicle track team has been working on a 2018.1 update. So there'll be a number of improvements. So 3D slip lanes, addition to the library and standards. The creation of the Civil 3D corridor and surface are greatly improved, much faster and also much higher quality. Okay. Is that still in there? I think I'm out of, I somehow came out of your, oh, there we go. Okay. A little late, sorry about that. And then, so key point is this vehicle track update, when it releases, will target both people on vehicle track 2018, so any AutoCAD-based installation of vehicle track, or if you have Civil 3D 2018 or .1, Even if you do not have vehicle track installed, you can still add this update, and it will update the roundabout capability in Civil 3D. We weren't going to go through in detail on any of these things because, as Eric said at the beginning, there's a launch webcast for this on October 4th. So hopefully you can all join in that. There's some really exciting things there. Next on the list is this ability to share alignment and profile geometry with others. I think we have a global audience here, so some are going to be more familiar with IFC than others. To date, IFC has been less about infrastructure, more about buildings. That is starting to change. We're seeing more and more of a focus on civil infrastructure models as part of the IFC definition. So this isn't, frankly, it's a relatively early state on the IFC side. First thing that they've tackled is an alignment and profile. So we have been building in support for that. So for those who are familiar with IFC, we now support the latest IFC schema, so IFC 4 and 4X1. And then we've, on top of that, so that results in changes and better support for all of the objects that are supported with IFC. However, we also now include the support for alignments and profiles. So this is available through the standard IFC export utility, or also if you're importing IFC, if there's an alignment, it's going to create a Civil 3D alignment. So again, it's a bit of a forward-looking thing. We're showing support for IFC. We're going to help. It's all part of our effort to help the IFC organization expand its support for infrastructure across product and industry workflows. Okay, so beyond that, there are a number of smaller things. Ability to reconnect all parts in a pipe network. Ability to turn off glyph override. The glyphs for label overrides is just kind of a laundry list of kind of refinements and what we call fit and finish. And then, as I said at the beginning, there's also a list of just general maintenance updates, so bug fixes and improvements that fit into that category. So again, robust release. The main things I think we want to have you take away with is all Civil 3D users will absolutely benefit from the new and improved workflows, as well as all of the general quality changes that are introduced in Update 1. Okay, so while we spent quite a bit of time on rehab, we think rehab will benefit most users, but there's also the inclusion of parts editor and the changes to section drafting and template reference templates. Those are things that are going to benefit all users. Okay, we've spent quite a bit to ensure that there's a very painless, low disruption way for people to deploy and update this and update their environment with Update 1. All right, so you'll use Autodesk desktop app, or your CAD manager can add this into their deployments and roll this out to everyone in the organization. It just weaves natively or naturally into the Civil 3D UI, no change to object format. So absolutely, you get the benefits with minimal disruption. And the other thing is this, again, this is part of an ongoing theme of we're trying to move down this continuous improvement strategy, which allows us to deliver you functionality when it becomes available in a way that's least disruptive as possible. So we've got other things that we're actively working on or researching. So you'll see those things kind of roll out as they become available. And again, with that goal of giving you more with minimal disruption. So with that, I think that covers everything that we wanted to touch upon. I think, Eric, I can pass it back on to you now. And thanks both to Tim and Charlie. And then, in absence, Chakri for all of his work on this project.
Yep, I just have two quick things that I want to go over before I let everyone go. The first one is, as we indicated, the update isn't out yet. So how are you going to know when it is released? The best way is to watch the community site. I mentioned this in the beginning, so bookmark that site, check it every day. And I will personally post an article in the news section when this becomes available. And then once it does become available, you'll be able to get it through your Autodesk desktop application. Hopefully you have that installed, or through, as Dave indicated before, manage.autodesk.com. So definitely keep checking back on the community site, and we'll let you know when the update's available. And I also wanted to remind everyone about our next webcast in a couple of weeks. Dave mentioned briefly the updates to Autodesk vehicle tracking that will be coming. Nigel Peters is going to give you the details on that on October 4th, same time, 12 to 1. And you can go up right now and register for that webcast on the community site and get that on your calendar. So with that, I want to thank Dave and Tim and Charlie for 3 great presentations. Thanks for filling us all in on what to expect with the upcoming release. It's all really exciting. I think if I was real quiet, I could hear like applause across the planet when I saw the zoom to section tool. So that's pretty cool, as well as everything else you guys covered. Thanks to everyone for giving us a little bit of your time today for the webcast, and we hope to see you all at the next one. Thanks, and have a great week.